What's up everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at how Apex Legends performs on a GT 1030 paired with an Intel i5-6500, a setup that still appears in many budget builds and older office PCs that people try to repurpose for gaming. Even though this hardware is far from ideal for a fast-paced shooter like Apex, it's always interesting to see how much performance you can squeeze out of components that were never meant for modern gaming. There's a certain charm in pushing older hardware just to see what it can still do. The GT 1030 is a small, low-power GPU, originally designed for basic tasks and media playback, not competitive shooters. But over time, it became a popular option for budget gamers because it's cheap, easy to install, and capable of running many games at low settings. Apex Legends, however, is demanding. It's full of movement, abilities, particle effects, and large open areas that push GPUs hard. So going into this test, expectations were modest, but that's exactly why the results are interesting. When you load into Apex with this setup, the menus feel smooth and responsive. The game boots quickly, and navigating the interface doesn't feel any different from a more powerful system. It's only when you drop into the map that the GT 1030 starts to show its limits. Even on the lowest settings, you can tell the GPU is working hard. Textures are simplified, shadows are minimal, and effects are stripped down to the basics. But despite all that, the game manages to stay in a range that feels surprisingly playable. Movement feels reasonably responsive, aiming doesn't feel completely delayed, and the overall experience is stable enough to enjoy casually. As you increase the visual quality, the experience shifts. Medium settings introduce sharper textures and more detailed shadows, but they also introduce stutters and frame drops. The game becomes less predictable, especially during fights. You might be running smoothly one moment and then suddenly drop several frames when abilities go off or when multiple players appear on screen. It's not unplayable, but it's not comfortable either. You can feel the GT 1030 struggling to keep up with everything happening in the world of Apex. Pushing the settings higher makes the limitations even more obvious. High settings look noticeably better, but the performance drops into a range where the game starts to feel heavy and sluggish. Animations slow down, input delay becomes noticeable, and the entire experience becomes inconsistent. You can still explore and admire the visuals, but the moment you get into a fight, the frame rate becomes a real problem. Tracking enemies becomes difficult, reacting to abilities becomes slower, and the game loses the fluidity that Apex is known for. Ultra settings take this even further. The game looks great, but the GT 1030 simply can't handle it. Every explosion, every particle effect, every ability creates massive slowdowns. The frame rate drops so low that the game becomes more of a slideshow than an actual playable experience. It's interesting to see how the game looks at this level, but it's not something you'd ever want to play on. Ultra settings are more of a curiosity than a real option for this GPU. But here's the surprising part. Even with all these limitations, the GT 1030 still manages to deliver a playable experience on low settings. And for a lot of people, that's enough. Not everyone is trying to play competitively. Some players just want to hop in, run around, and enjoy the game casually. And for that purpose, the GT 1030 actually holds up better than expected. The i5-6500 also helps. It's an older CPU, but it's still capable enough to keep the game stable and prevent major bottlenecks. The combination of the two creates a system that's not powerful but functional, and in the world of budget gaming, functional can be more than enough. One thing that stands out during gameplay is how consistent the low settings experience is. Even though the visuals are stripped down, the game maintains a steady rhythm. You can move confidently, aim with reasonable accuracy, and navigate the map without feeling like the game is fighting against you. It's not smooth like a high-end GPU, but it's stable enough to enjoy. Another interesting aspect is how the game handles different environments. Open areas tend to run better, while indoor fights or areas with lots of effects tend to drop frames. Abilities like Bangalore's smoke, Caustic's gas, or Horizon's lift can cause noticeable slowdowns, but even then, the game doesn't completely fall apart. It dips, it stutters, but it keeps going. And that's really the theme of this entire test. The GT 1030 keeps going. It doesn't quit, it doesn't crash, and it doesn't make the game unplayable on low settings. It just does the best it can with the limited power it has. And honestly, that's kind of admirable. Now, if you're someone who wants a smoother experience, there are better options. Even a used GTX 1050 Ti or GTX 1650 will give you a massive improvement. Those cards can run Apex at much higher frame rates with better visuals and without the stuttering that the GT 1030 struggles with. But if you're stuck with this GPU, or if you're just experimenting with older hardware, the GT 1030 still has some life left in it. So, in the end, the GT 1030 paired with an i5 6500 can run Apex. Not perfectly, not smoothly, and not competitively, but it can run it. And for a lot of players, that's enough. If you're just looking to pass the time, explore the map, and enjoy the game casually, this setup gets the job done. It's not flashy, it's not powerful, but it works. And sometimes, that's all you need.